Alright, it's worth noting, and this is going to hurt my viewer retention a little bit, but it's worth noting that this video is not a patch notes video, it's not a testing video. If you want one of those, I'd recommend Exclusive Ace. Exclusive Ace has a great video on all of the changes. I will try to remember and link it in the description below, or link it in the comment section below. And Exclusive Ace, Ty, if you're watching this, thank you so much for the testing you do, so that people like me don't have to think too much. It hurts when we do. Alright, so yesterday when I was live streaming the new update for Black Ops Cold War and we were going over the weapons and talking about them, people were asking if the game is good now, worth revisiting, is the game fixed, essentially was the question on everybody's minds in the chat. The answer is no, the game is not better. This is not a god patch that's going to solve all of the issues people have with Black Ops Cold War. The main issue that was solved is that snipers used to not have flinch. And because they didn't have flinch, you would get into these engagements where you'd see the sniper glint, you'd start getting hit markers on the person, you get 3 or 4 at a distance, and then they click on you, and that's very unfortunate. It took people 6 months to realize that Call of Duty snipers are too damn easy to have their flinch taken away. Now if you want to kill somebody with a sniper rifle, you better do this crazy thing called shooting them before they shoot you. I know, that's a lot to ask in a game where you can just sort of delete anybody you can put your crosshair on as long as it's like, you know, above their dick. But, you know, you'll live. You'll get through it. You'll do fine. They did other changes to the sniper rifles, but they were all so minute that it didn't really matter. They just added a decent amount of flinch. If you want to see flinch comparisons, again, I recommend Exclusive Ace's video on the changes. It's a good amount of flinch, but basically the amount of flinch they added and the fact that you still can reduce it with flinch reducing attachments means that essentially what this patch did was fix certain gunfights against certain people when you have a certain weapon. Which, yeah, I know it kind of just sounds like I'm nutshelling Call of Duty changes in general. You know, obviously they don't overhaul fix everything, but these snipers are still really good and it's still a 150 health game. So when you use an XM4 or a QBZ and you start getting hit markers, all the person you're shooting has to do is pull their mouse or analog stick down and shoot you anyway. I would recommend, if you are tired of getting sniped after landing first shots, is run larger magazines and do a lot of pre-firing so they're walking into stacking damage instead of starting to get shot after they've already sort of acquired you. So if you know a sniper is in an area, just pre-fire their scope glint. You should theoretically have a higher chance of surviving those gunfights now and maybe even coming out on top. It is worth it to shoot at scope glint now, but not so much that you're going to win every gunfight that a sniper takes a little bit too long to shoot in. So yeah, I took damage while using the Pellington. I was able to take damage and still just click on the person. It wasn't that hard. The snipers really just aren't hard in Call of Duty. They're just not, and they're especially not hard in Black Ops Cold War, and they're still really good snipers. And the changes that they did to like aim down sight time and whatever, it was like less than a frame at 60 FPS essentially. It's very, very minute. I don't know why they do such minute, unnoticeable changes after just weeks and weeks of actually I would say 6 months of no decent sniper patches. It's weird that things are getting tweaked by like half a frame here or a couple meters per second there. It's very odd to me. In fact, the entire nature of Black Ops Cold War's patches is super strange to me. Like their pistol changes, I think they added an extra 3 meters per second to the M1911's bullet velocity. Why? What's the point of that? I don't know what the logic is with most of these changes, and during this massive update, which also did some tweaks to the LMGs, making them less reliant on a certain barrel, which it's like, okay, I guess that's good to just bring their bullet velocity up. Like, why are shotguns still not tweaked properly? Why are they still secondaries? And why are the tactical rifles still so goddamn good? Also, they buffed the AK-47's bullet velocity. I have no idea why. The AK-47 was already a really good pick in multiplayer. It did not need any tweaking at all. It was just a really good weapon. Maybe a little bit more recoil would have been a smart idea, actually. But no, instead it now has faster bullet velocity. There were other changes as well, and I recommend you look at the patch notes or watch Exclusive Ace's video, but essentially, it's not a massive change. It's not a god patch. It's not an overhaul. It's not a rework. It's okay. It's a nice change. It's not a drastic change. The next thing they did was add Rambo and John McClane from Die Hard and Rambo into the game as operators. And this is pretty cool, I guess. There's some pretty good takedown animations, some cool tracer packs with it. Genuinely, I do think it's a pretty cool change. I just kind of don't want to buy them because I think playing as characters in Call of Duty's multiplayer is kind of weird. Like, I'm definitely not going to be role-playing as those characters because it's Call of Duty, and also, if there's like 3 other Rambos on the team, it's just going to look silly, in my opinion. It just all looks very silly to me. I think it's weird when there's like 4 different Maras on an enemy team, or 3 different Charlies, or a bunch of Krugers, a bunch of Adlers, a bunch of Woods, a bunch of Prices. It just, I don't know. I think it makes the game cheesier. Like, a lot cheesier. But all in all, they're fun cosmetics and people will like them, no big deal. And also, we now have Standoff from Black Ops 2. And it looks exactly how it did in Black Ops 2. No real creativity applied, no lighting changes, no time of day changes. It's just pretty good. Obviously, it's higher quality lighting, higher quality shading because it is a newer version of the COD engine, but it's a direct port as far as I'm concerned, and it's okay. I think when I combine the fact that I've already played this map, and I've already played this map in this form, like I've already seen this exact aesthetic before, kind of makes me feel bored already. I hate to say it, I just felt the same way about Express and Raid as well. They aren't maps that I dislike or anything, it's just there's nothing interesting for me to sink my teeth into here. I already know the layout, and I already know this aesthetic, so I'm kind of good. Because I've already played this layout and seen this aesthetic, I'm just sort of already burnt, I'm already bored. I've played it like 4 times, it's like, yeah, I get it, it's Standoff. It's nice to have in rotation, but again, this game has no identity of its own. It doesn't feel like a Black Ops Cold War game, like a sequel to Black Ops 1. I'm really wondering why we haven't seen any remakes of Black Ops 1 maps, unless you want to count Nuketown. And so yeah, I don't really get sequel to Black Ops 1 vibes here. It really feels like they just wanted to remaster Black Ops 2, and I feel like when they eventually remaster Black Ops 2, I'm going to be already bored of half its maps, because they will have been directly ported into Black Ops Cold War. But allow me to say something a little controversial. Between Black Ops Cold War not really fitting the Black Ops aesthetic, the Black Ops 1 aesthetic that it's apparently supposed to be canonically following, the fact that we have movie characters in the game, and the fact that we have things like a piano gun, where when you inspect it, you play it like a real piano. Just things of that sort, you know, and you combine that with the lack of detail and fidelity that we saw in the series' previous entry, which I know how development cycles work, I get it, I understand, but I'm just saying, as a consumer, Black Ops Cold War feels like a free-to-play in a lot of ways to me. Movie characters, weird cosmetics, porting in old maps with their exact original look without changing up their layout or anything. And you know, previous Call of Duty games used to have a vibe, a feel, an aesthetic, a style, and I would say Black Ops 4 and Black Ops Cold War follow the trend of just throwing that to the side for the sake of fun. And while, yeah, fun is good, and you don't want to be the guy on YouTube that doesn't like fun, but I think Modern Warfare did a good job of adding weird cosmetics that still made sense in its world to some degree. But then again, I'm just a bit of a stickler for a game having a vibe, a feel, an aesthetic. And also I give Modern Warfare some props for actually tweaking the maps they added into the game, you know, adding an extra flank route or adding an area that is usually closed off or closing off an area that's usually open. Like, I feel like that's actually how you should remake a map. It makes the maps feel more designed for that game versus just being ported over. And you can disagree with a design choice on a map, that's fair, but when it comes to something just being ported over, it's really hard for me to have an opinion about it. Because yeah, that's the old map, you did it, whatever. So anyway, not a god patch, not a big rework. Basically, they saved you a headache in certain gunfights, and that's roughly it. That being said, it's a pretty good update. I give it a 7 out of 10. See you when I see you. Goodbye.